Tony Katz, 239-9393. Facebook, Tony Katz Radio. Let me bring in Cam Edwards from NRA News, the host of Cam and Company over there on NRA TV. You can also hear him on Sirius every single day, Sirius XM satellite. And, of course, Parkland has been the news. Parkland has been the story. 17 people have been murdered. The conversation has turned to whether or not America should be a place that has the AR-15. People not even understanding that it's a platform. I have gotten tweets like assault rifle owners always send their thoughts and prayers and no solutions to the big problem America has. Personally, I would rather send my thoughts and prayers to them when we ban their AR-15s, human beings' lives, or shooting tanzanite in targets. Seems like common sense. I have been yelled at. I have been screamed at. But they all use the same conversation and same question. Tony, why do you need an AR-15? I didn't know need was a constitutional conversation. But, Cam, these are the kinds of questions guys like you get all the time. Questions about how dare you to believe that the Second Amendment means the right to bear arms of all kinds. So let me ask you the question that I've been asked all morning. Why do you need an AR-15?
Well, there are lots of things, again, Tony, that we have that we may not necessarily need. For me, it's a very versatile platform. So the AR-15 that I have at my house, I can actually, it's ambidextrous. So I'm left-handed, my wife is right-handed. We can both use that firearm. I like the fact that it's versatile. I can use it to deal with predators that I may have to deal with, fox, coyotes. I can also use it as a hog hunting gun. And you know what? It does make a really good home self-defense firearm. I mean, look, there's a reason why the AR-15, which has been around since the 1960s, it predates the Beatles. I mean, there's a reason why this is the most common sold rifle in America today, because it is lighter, it's safer, it's more accurate than the older firearms. It's, you know, there's a reason why it's been adopted. And I just don't think that in this day and age you're going to go back to, you know, the World War II M1 Garands or something like that.
I want to get into that idea of platform and get an understanding of how popular it is in terms of rifle, because when people talk about AR-15, they say assault rifle, which I still don't know what that is. But I would love for you to explain that a rifle is a rifle is a rifle is a rifle.
Well, I mean, yeah, so when you're talking about an AR-15, typically what you're talking about is a semi-automatic rifle, right? So that would be a rifle, every time you pull the trigger, one round is discharged, as opposed to a fully automatic machine gun where you hold down the trigger and, you know, bullets keep coming out. What makes the AR platform different from, let's say, your traditional hunting rifle, primarily it's going to be the material, right? So your traditional hunting rifle is going to be made out of wood, whereas your AR is going to be made out of a polymer or a lighter material. So it's not going to be as heavy. You know, some of the other things that might be different, you know, one of the things that anti-gun activists focus on is the magazine. So an AR-15 would have a detachable magazine, so you can, you know, swap out your ammunition. A traditional hunting magazine or a traditional hunting rifle, you know, a bolt-action rifle is not going to have a external magazine, so that's going to be a difference. But again, you know, we're now to the point where the AR basically is the traditional rifle. It has been the traditional rifle in America for decades and decades now. You talk about the popularity of it. I mean, there's something between like 8 and 12 million of these rifles in the United States right now, Tony. If
you know the numbers better than me. Well, but the point being is that they're not going away anytime soon. Talking to Cam Edwards of NRA News, NRA TV, I've been trying to explain to people that when we take a look at Parkland, because people want to send me tweets, you take a look at Parkland, you take a look at this, you take a look at that. These are all real. In terms of the shootings, they're real and they're awful. But they'll say AR-15, that's the connection between all of them. And the point that I make is, no, the underlying is the connection between all of them. What it is that led people, what it is that led Nicholas Cruz to do this, that is the underlying, that is our issue, and that is, I believe, a cultural conversation, and seems to be the great conversation we don't want to have. It seems to be rather easy to say, just ban the AR-15, What are you hearing? And are you starting to see lawmakers say, well, maybe if we gave up the AR-15? Like, are they going down that road?
I mean, honestly, I haven't seen that. And I think that you're right. The bigger conversation that we need to be having that we don't really want to have is about these individuals. And frankly, I think mental health is a huge conversation that we need to have that we're not talking about. And it's not just a matter of, trying to find the needles in the haystack, like trying to find these particular individuals. Tony, I mean, my youngest kids are in middle school, and their daily experience is a lot different than what it was when I was in middle school. This is the most anxious generation, supposedly, that we've ever seen, in terms of anti-anxiety medications that the kids are on, the therapies that they're going through. I think that we really do need to talk about just the world that we're living in here and what we can do to make it better. But the idea that, you can ban your way to safety, the idea that you can, regulate rights away and that somehow that's going to make us a safer society, I just don't buy it.
The responses also that we've seen from the celebrity culture, the Jimmy Kimmel responses, the Chelsea Handler responses, the Judd Apatow responses, all of them end in the same basic refrain. If you are a member of the NRA, you have blood on your hands. If you are a supporter of the NRA, you have blood on your hands. In the end, the answer to them, the celebrity culture apparatchik, is the NRA is to blame for all things. You're not in that part of it. You're on the TV side of it. I understand. But what do you think is the proper response to that, aside from mine, which is just total dismissal of those people as unserious?
Well, I think that's a fair response. But, what I would tell those individuals is put your money where your mouth is. We've got a situation right now in New York State, Tony. After Sandy Hook, New York State passed what's called the SAFE Act. This was their sweeping anti-gun bill. A lot of it has not been able to go into effect, but one of the provisions stated that every legal pistol owner in New York State, those who had already registered their pistol with the state of New York, they had to re-register those pistols by January 31st of this year, or else they would become felons. And the best estimates are there are about 600 to 800,000 New Yorkers who did not re-register their pistols with the state of New York, and they're now felons. Now, the New York State Police says they're not going to go out, they're not going to take anybody's guns, they're not going to arrest anybody for failing to re-register their firearms. I want to hear these gun control advocates who are demanding more effective gun laws. I want to hear them demand of Governor Cuomo, go out and start arresting these gun owners in New York State. Go out and start hauling 800,000 people into court. Go put them in prison. Because if that's what these folks want, well, then they want to see these laws enforced, right? Or do they just want to see these laws put on the books? Is that the do something that they're interested in? So I'm willing to take them
as a
word,
thing, man. The do something is everything. The whole idea that we have to do something. If you want government to do something and you don't have it really targeted, they'll do anything. And if they do anything, we're all screwed.
Listen, I agree with you, but this was the do something that gun control advocates wanted 5 years ago, and now they don't want to see this law enforced. They wanted it on the books, and nobody is now clamoring for the state police to go out and start arresting these folks. So what is the point? What is the point of putting these laws on the books if you're not going to enforce them? And I would say to you, Tony, that I don't think a lot of these gun control supporters, not the hardcore activists, but the casual supporter, the non-gun owner who says, I don't own a gun, so it really isn't going to bother me. I would suggest to you that they really don't want to see these laws enforced. They don't want to see people like Shaneen Allen go to prison for 3.5 years in New Jersey because she brought her legally owned firearm from Pennsylvania into that state. They don't want to see laws like that. Again, it feels good. We see a tragedy like what happened in Florida, and everybody wants to do something so that this doesn't happen again. But we get one shot. Let's make sure that the something that we do is something that, A, is feasible, something that is practical, and something that's going to be effective. And, by the way, it should also not infringe on people's constitutional rights.
That right there, Cam Edwards, at Cam Edwards on Twitter from NRA TV, Cam and Company, NRA News. I appreciate you being with us. I'm Tony Katz.